Shalom Chavrim, I'm Steve Ben-Nun. You're watching Israeli News Live, and guys, I want to share with you here our screen, what we're looking at right now. This is the Sana News, Syrian news here, and a report that came out, actually, wait a minute, let me just verify this real quick. No, this is actually, today. Local sources in the province of Idlib reported that with the participation and under the supervision of expert chemists from Western countries, members of the Dishabat and Nusra, or Al-Nusra, and Hizb al-Turkstani loaded rocket shells with chemicals to attack in the province of Hama and Latakia. Those of you that know anything about Latakia, we know that they have the Russian military base there at Latakia. Syria, which is right there near the coast, and Hama not far from there, and of course all this just south of Aleppo. It says here, according to the Russian news agency Sputnik, sources said that in the west of Idlib province, in one of the camps in Sahil ar-Rozan region, terrorists had equipped about 120 missiles with chemicals. At first, these missiles in 5 ambulances with the assistance of the White Helmet members were transported to the Sahil ar-Roye area from the, I can't even say these words, Al-Nusra warehouses in Idlib. At the same time, the White Helmets brought special equipment and equipment to the same camp from the Khan Shaykhun area, and Belgian experts checked the delivery of 8 cylinders with chlorine gas and wooden boxes from one of the Dishabat al-Nusra headquarters in the village of Aldan in north of the province of Idlib. I mean, guys, this is getting absolutely insane. I mean, when are these guys ever going to give up on using chemical weapons? I guess it's to justify another attack. And, right now we got Netanyahu. He's facing the elections, and it looks like he's pulling every little shenanigan to try to make sure he stays in power. It's very, well, I don't even know what to call it. I really don't. When we think that everything's going to kind of settle down as they're trying to get their New World Order all put in place, we have this all over again. And, so it lets us know the situation's not over yet. It's not over by no means. Let me just kind of pull you back around to the screen here. A couple of other things going on as well that I wanted to share with you. This here video of Ukraine's test today of its new Neptune anti-ship cruise missile. In fact, by the way, they have elections going on over in Ukraine as well, and Poroshenko not doing very well at all. His rival, I believe, which is a comedian there in Ukraine, is actually doing double digits against Poroshenko. The U.S. doesn't seem to be interfering with those elections at all either, unless they're really just wanting a change of face. We'll just have to see how that goes. But also another interesting article that came up from Russia and USA, they quoted the Ukraine minister as saying, "We'll get to Moscow eventually with our allies in tanks," he states. And of course, the Russian minister of Foreign Affairs tweeted back, "Moscow you'll be in with allies and tanks is located in Idaho." Moscow, Idaho, I guess what he's referring to. But anyway, they also included on here some of the photos here of the neo-Nazis, the fascist, different emblems that are being used by the Ukrainian military there. And it's true. Everything they're doing is part of the former neo-Nazis. There's Moscow, Idaho, a picture they showed there. Let them know that you're not coming here. You might be there, but you're not coming here. It's not a good situation we got going on in the world. A lot of things are happening all over the globe, but concerning at the very least. NATO doesn't need to exist. Ron Paul to RT in a video he stated there. Let's just real quick kind of tune in to see what Ron Paul has to say here on RT News.
Okay, let's discuss this story and many others with former US Congressman Ron Paul, who joins me on the line. Ron, a pleasure to have you on. Let's start with this particular story. WikiLeaks. There have been claims that this might be an attention-seeking attempt from WikiLeaks. Do you think that that's in any way possible that they would risk upsetting the hosts who've been keeping Julian Assange out of prison for so many years just to grab attention?
Well, I imagine it's possible, but I don't really have a good insight into that. But if it doesn't serve their interest, why would they do it? It would be my question. But I think the whole thing is a big mess, that's for darn sure. And I think it's a shame that we have to try to sort this out. But they shouldn't be doing anything that would hurt themselves or hurt Assange. But he, unfortunately, has not had many cards to play, and I don't think that
you know, one point I'd like to make, though, quickly with you guys, though, without even getting into this issue there about Ron Paul talking about there being no need of a NATO force in Europe or globally, is the issue about Julian Assange. There have been reports that have come out today saying that he only has hours before he will be thrown out of the Ecuadorian embassy. And I don't know how that's going to go for him, but, you know, they talk about that he would end up in prison. Well, in my opinion, he's been in prison now for however many years it's been since he's been held up in the Ecuadorian embassy. That's to akin to prison or house arrest, whatever you want to call it, or even worse, because he has no freedom, no ability to move about. And of course, this man here has only tried to, let the world know the dangers that we face, and just the criminality of the politicians that are working behind the scenes here. So, but it also lets us know, too, there's been a fine line drawn. Freedom of the press is not really freedom of the press, which we're about to find that out even more so after Congress just passed this bill of anti-Semitism, which is going before the Senate now. I'm sure it's going to get passed, and then there's going to be a whole lot of things nobody can report on, because there's so much links that go back to the elitists, whether it be the deep state in America or the deep state in Israel or Israeli politicians that are behind so many different wars and fronts and things that you couldn't even imagine. In fact, speaking about that, I also have an article, and let me just share this here with you. And I believe it was, maybe it was Sputnik that brought this up here. No, that's actually a case of police brutality. That was really a sad situation there in Albany, New York. The police just brutally beat this man that they were called out to a disturbance. And, after he's subdued, they just brutally beat this man. I am glad to see, though, that the Albany Police Department, they did suspend him without pay, and also he's already been charged with a felony, I think it's a felony assault charge, something like that, but totally unbecoming of an officer to act the way this man was. Anyway, IDF General, this is on Mint Press. IDF General says Israel behind coup that installed al-Sisi dictatorship in Egypt. This article is very interesting there, and so once we get done with the broadcast here, I'll post this up for you where you can look at this. It says the outbreak in January revolution coincided with the Israeli security assessment that President-elect Mohammed Morsi, a Muslim Brotherhood man, intended to cancel the peace agreement with Israel and send more Egyptian military forces to the Sinai Peninsula. So Israel, in responding there, also, according to this general here, had a hand in helping to overthrow the former dictator there in place in al-Sisi. And, of course, it has been interesting to see that ever since, and Egypt has been very cooperative with anything that Israel has wanted to do. In fact, I was just looking at a picture of him, Fattah al-Sisi, the other day, and I was thinking to myself, this guy looks more Jewish than he does Arabic. Don't know how that, whether that's true or not, I cannot say. But anyway, it says, well, Eldad cited concerns over a rupture of the Israel-Egypt peace agreement as having motivated Israel's role in 2013 coup. A more likely reason was related to Morsi's relationship with Hamas and the efforts to normalize relations with Gaza. Notably, after al-Sisi came to power, the Rafah crossing between Gaza and Egypt, tunnels between Gaza and Egypt were abruptly closed. In addition, soon after the coup, army instigated anti-Palestinian propaganda was rampant. Throughout Cairo, Palestinians that had flown into the Cairo airport were quickly deported back to the countries they had recently arrived from, according to The Guardian. In contrast, while Morsi did not end the blockade of Gaza, enforced in 2007, he had improved conditions for Palestinian living in the embattled enclave compared to those under his predecessor, Hosni Mubarak. Anyway, just some interesting thoughts I wanted to share with you guys here. By the way, listen, on Patreon, we have finished, I'll kind of just pull you around over here to the screen there where we've been editing up the video there with my wife, Yana, at the Orlando conference. And this is almost finished with the editing right now. It will be up on patreon.com/Israeli News Live. This is only the first part of her speech. It's an hour and 47 minutes, just the first part. But boy, does this girl ever uncovers evidence like you just would not believe. So definitely you're going to want to check this out, I'm sure. I would love to put it on Israeli News Live, and I will pull this off that screen right now because I don't know what all we might end up looking at. So anyway, Yana really does bring out some really, really excellent points there. And so we wanted to be able to share this with our friends there. So we'll be on Patreon here in just a little bit. It's almost finished the processing. It'll probably take, I don't know if you'll get to see it really tonight because I'm going to have to load it up to Vimeo. And then Vimeo's got to load it. Once it gets loaded in Vimeo, then I can put it over to Israeli News Live. I'm figuring about midnight Eastern time, it should be there. So if you'd like to check out this, I posted the video I did there the other day. And it's kind of interesting because there's only been like, I think about 150 views thus far on it. And some people have really made, there are not very many comments because you don't get a lot of comments on Patreon, but some very interesting comments though that we did get. You know, one lady, she really, very sweet lady, was writing about how that she just really was speaking about how that it moved her heart so much and how she wept as she listened to this broadcast. So at any rate there, we love you guys. Thank you for watching, and Erev Tov. Well, I don't know how to, always never can figure out how to end the video, guys. You know, I've got this lock thing on the screen as well, and I don't really know what that's all about. There we go. Maybe you guys weren't able to see me. Oh, that's what the problem is. So when I have it sideways, you guys have to, what do you got to do? Go like this? Sorry about that. I had no idea that that's the way it works there. You know, I just got a text from a sister there that I know, Tracy. And I didn't get the chance to see what it said because it just popped up and then went off the screen there. Maybe that's what it was. Hey, by the way, I don't know if I can show you this, guys, now or not. But anyway, Yana's video just finished loading. I'm going to jump off here and get this thing loaded up on Patreon so you guys can see that are wanting to see it. Now I got to figure out how to end the live broadcast. I never know how to do these things. Where is it says mute. We can cancel. Sharing is not going to do a whole lot of good there. I'm just not good at this when it comes to doing it with the phone.